Hi. I just wanted to show a cool way to use Code Interpreter for accounting processes. This is kind of useful for those one-off clients. You might have accounting work to do once a year or once a quarter to do. Basically, I use Code Interpreter to train a ChatGPT AI model how to categorize transactions by using last year's data in a general ledger form, and then uploading that as a CSV, and then telling it to basically train on that data, pull out the vendor and the categorization columns, and kind of learn from that data, so it could then categorize new data. So, for example, let's say you do taxes for this small client, and they send you their you have their QuickBooks access, or Zero or something like that, and you download last year's general ledger, you upload it into ChatGPT, you tell it to learn per vendor how to categorize transactions. This is for basic companies. I wouldn't use this for a more complex business, but like, let's say Amazon's always office expenses. There's a hardware store. You always code that the job supplies, stuff like that. And then basically it learns based on the vendor name where to categorize things. Um, and then you can also add other rules in there as well to help categorize even better. But on a very basic level, you can upload last year's GL, tell it to use that logic to categorize this year. And it's not perfect. I'll kind of walk through. Here's my shared GPT of the conversation I actually had with ChatGPT, and I can share the CSV files too if you'd like to see those. But basically, I used my own company, Celerity Accounting. I changed some stuff on the GL, and then I uploaded it into ChatGPT. I asked it to single out the vendor name and the categorization of the vendors, and it said yes, da da da. And then I uploaded a credit card statement. What a credit card statement typically looks like is the date, who you paid, and how much. And then there's a little bit of data in there, but not a whole lot. It categorized about 70% of the transactions on the first try using the old data. It did not do it perfectly, no. It missed Fireflies, Cinder, Sonic, and Linktree, and then a few others. So I asked it to just add those in, and I added them to text subscriptions. It was, for whatever reason, those names didn't come up probably because of a formatting issue or something with the credit card statement. This had me filled in about 90% of the way. So then I went and I said, okay, use your ChatGPT logic reasoning engine magic in order to categorize the rest. And so it has data up to 2021. So if it's like a new company, they probably can't figure out what it does. But based on the credit card statement and based on the data that we did have, it was able to categorize the rest just based on the vendor name. And there might have been new vendors or et cetera. So that's the kind of cool thing about it is, yes, of course you could do this yourself, but you could train this one chat. In the future, hopefully it's a little slightly different. But you could train this one chat how to do this, and then you can do it with multiple clients, and you could do it with the same client year over year. And then the other cool thing I did was, so basically it was all filled in, and all the vendor data was categorized to the right account at this point in time. So I then asked it to create an import file for these expenses that is compatible with QuickBooks Online. And it did that, and it made it a CSV file, which is pretty crazy. And so, and it looked correct to me. And so in reality, I would probably use it in conjunction with something like Transaction Pro, which I like to use to import into QuickBooks just because it's a lot cleaner, and QuickBooks it's not great with importing data. But then I have a template for that in Excel, so I could easily be like, put it in this format, and it could do that for me. And you could do this with tons and tons of data relatively quickly. Obviously, there's data limits in ChatGPT right now, but yeah, I mean, even relatively large companies, you could upload their data, set some rules, set some boundaries. The more data you give it, the better, and then it should be able to learn those rules for next time. And like, let's say you do clients books. Let's say you do only professional service firms, and you use the same chart of accounts kind of format for each client. I mean, it would really work really well, I think, if you had like similar companies and had one tool to work with all those similar companies and categorizing all those transactions. So yeah, just a cool way, I think, to use ChatGPT. Obviously, there's going to be better iterations of this and better ways to do it in the next 6 to 12 months, I'm sure. But we'll keep playing around with this data and see what we can do. Thanks.